Okay, well, welcome everyone. Let me see. I have different boards, and what Trello lets you do is it lets you have on the free plan, it lets you have up to 10 different boards. And if you can see, I already have a lot of different boards. But I set up, this is my regular follow-up one. But what I'm gonna do is I set up a blank one to kind of explain to you all during this training on how I set it up. And this is the one that you guys can copy if you want to. I'm a visual person, and so I added these little visual cards on here. But what happens when you first create a board, with Trello, you're gonna come up here to the middle of the screen. It'll say create. And so you can create or you can copy one. So I'm going to send you the link through the chat right now so that you can copy this one if you want to, or you can start from scratch. But basically, when you say create, it just gives you different options. You would just say create a board, and then you name your board. I'm going to name this test board, just to give you an example. So then you could pick a color, pick a landscape. You can customize it by uploading your own image. So right here next to where the name is, if you see where this check mark is in the middle of the screen, you can basically pick what the background's going to be. So here, if I pick blue, it's going to look like this. And so you have different options there. So and really, you can't see it too much because you're going to end up covering it with all your content. So I'm a very visual person, and I spent a lot of time on this, and then to come and find out that I don't really get to enjoy what I picked because it's all hiding behind all my activities that I set up. So just to give you a warning there. So, okay, so I'm going to go ahead and say create board. And what happens is that you end up with this blank board. So pretty much the way Trello is, it's for project management. And so imagine that it's an actual whiteboard. If you were working in an office and you're ever been a part of a team, a lot of the times the project managers, I used to be a project manager. So what we would have a board, and we would say, okay, this has to happen. And in order for this to happen, then this has to happen, right? And so really that's like the concept behind Trello. So what they do is you have a list, which also some people refer to as columns, but Trello calls them lists. So on this list it could be anything that you need to go on your board. Okay, so I just want to come back here and explain what happens when you first open it. And the way that it works is that this is a list. So this would be, for example, if you're with us, right, you're say something that we need to do. Step number one is prospects, right? So you could say this is your prospect list, and underneath your prospect list, you're going to add cards, and these would be your prospects. So you would say Mary, you would say Sonia, you would say Leo, you would say Martina. So these are the prospects that you have. They're the little cards that you have. So all this is really simple. The beauty of Trello, though, is that it can all be automated. So now I'm going to go ahead and share the board that I prepared for you all. And that way I can explain how I set it up to do follow-up and how I automate it, because you can automate the board so that it does a lot of the work for you. So you don't have to be remembering, because otherwise, imagine if you could see, I only added 4 people and it's already taking up quite a bit of space on the list. So you can still lose people through here unless you have Trello reminding you. So I'm going to go over here where you see off to the far left, you see my C it stands for my name, right? And then if you do the little 2 arrows right here, it expands and it shows you all my boards that I have. So these are the boards that I have. I added a number, just a little tip here. I added a number before because this is the order that I want them to show up in. This is the order that I'm going to look at my boards during the day. So just a little extra tip, if you're going to do more than one board, and it usually alphabetizes it, but the names on my boards were not in alphabetical order. So I added a number so that they would show up in the order that I wanted them to. And now they do seem to be in alphabetical order. But anyways, so that's a tip. If you want them to show up in a different order, just number your board, start with the number, and that way, that's the way it's going to show it up for you. Okay, so this one is the one that I created for you guys, NM follow-up, network marketing follow-up. And then you can collapse the 2 bars here, and that way you can see more of your screen. Okay, so what I did is, I'm going to close my camera so I can see the full screen. So what I did is basically there's different things that we have to do, right? One is the leads, which is, most people call it a prospect. I like to call them leads. And so you can change that to leads if you want. So my first one is, this is where you're going to add all those people that are your leads. Your prospect list is going to go in here. You're going to give them each a card. And I'll give you a tip of one thing that I learned for those of you that are cold prospecting on social media. This is a good way where you could just come in here and paste their social media link so you can find their profile really, really fast. Okay, but first I want to cover this part. So I have a column for leads. This is where I'm going to put in all my prospects, right? And then once I invite them, they're going to move over to my invitation list. This is where anyone that I've invited, let's just say Leo, right? And Sonia and Mary. Let's do that. So let's just say Martina. I don't know who else is on the call yet, but okay. So I invited Leo. I'm going to move him over to invitation. So now I know that I already asked Leo if he's open to take a look. Okay, the way that I automated this board is going to make more sense when you see my other columns. Okay, so if you see here my today, my do today, these are the actions that I need to do today, which is something that I added to the board to remind me. And if you could see, it bumped down my visual. Here's my little visual card. It bumped it and it added these people above it because of my automation that I have going on. So then I know that these are 3 that just showed up on my board, and it'll make more sense right now in a minute. Okay, so just be aware that usually this card is on the top because Trello just gives you the name of the list, but this is actually considered a card within it. And I just added it for visual effects. Okay, so you don't have to have this card right here that says due today. You don't have to have it on there. But so I have my leads, my invitations, and then I have my list of due today. These are the things that I need to do today. And these are just bogus people. This is Ray Higdon. This is Rafaela. She's one of my favorites in our company, right? And Juan Rosado, right? So I just made mock cards right here. So these are the things I need to do today. And then I have a list for follow-up. And let me move give me a minute here. I need to move my Zoom. Anyway, okay. So I have a list for follow-up one day. Okay, this is the way that I usually try to do my follow-up. So after I send, like, let's say I invited Leo, okay, and then Leo says, yeah, I'll take a look. So then I'm going to send Leo the information and I want to make sure I follow up with him tomorrow. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move him to my follow-up in one day column. Okay, so but if he says, yeah, I'll take a look, but I don't have time till another few days, then I would move him over. I have another list where it says follow up in 2 days and then follow up in 5 days. I have a 30-day follow-up, a 90-day, and then I have a column, a list where it says these people told me they're interested, but they're ghosting me. They're not replying. Right? So I have that one as well. And then I have this other list over here, which is at the very far right. It's my miscellaneous list where I have what's called a contact template. This is a card that this board is going to use anytime I add a board to my invitation, because I mostly do cold prospecting now. I already went through my warm market, so I don't really have a lot of people in here. So as I add a person in here, it's supposed to trigger it to where it creates it with the template card. It didn't do it this time. If you notice with Leo, it didn't, because I added him here through my leads. But if I add a card here, let's just say Robert. Then when I add the card here, it should happen. I don't know why it's not working right now. I'll have to check my rule. I'll have to check my rule. And that's actually good, because that way I'll show you where to check the rule. So it should have automatically given me this card with Robert with this template that I have set up over here. This card is a template. And so what happens is this card is a template. Look at what happens here. This is the beauty of Trello. When I add a card with this template, it's automatically going to give me, I already set it up so that I want to know their phone number. I want to know where I met them from, the reason I think I can help them, that's important to me, and what I recommended to them, because I do a lot of wellness coaching. And so a lot of the times I recommend products to people and then I forget, right? I forget and then they're like, oh yeah, I remember that. And I'm like, I don't remember. So here I'm gonna start writing it down to what I recommended to them as far as the products go, or whatever else I might have made a recommendation for. Sometimes I recommend different exercises and things like that. So, but here is, you can have a checklist where this is really what helps a lot with follow-up, because what I've noticed, and that used to happen to me as well until Abby gave me a great training of the different categories of follow-ups that you can do. So the first one is, once I invite, then I'm going to check this off. If I sent them the video, I'm going to check off that I sent the video. If I already had a one-on-one with them, if I sent them the business info. So it depends on you, on what you usually do for follow-up. But this is a great training tool as well. When you're bringing someone on, you could say, okay, Martina, when you talk to someone, the first step is you invite them, and then you offer them the video or to connect to a Zoom presentation, right? Then a one-on-one, and then we share all these things, a third-party message, which is really helpful. Sharing a testimonial with them when there's a new product. So here's all the different types of follow-up that you could be doing with each one of your leads, so that every time you follow up with them, you're not just asking them the same thing, right? You're actually adding value to them. You're actually adding something more to the story and making that relationship stronger. And so here's a birthday. Did you send them a birthday message, right? To where it finally ends is that they enrolled. Right, so you can make this checklist and you don't have to do it over and over again, because anytime you create a card from this template, you mark this as a template. If I do that, then all I do is I change the name. So new lead. And now I have this card with my new lead name, and it already populated it with the fields that I want to make sure that I get the information on, and with my checklist on my follow-up. So that's something that I think is a really a big time saver. So here it shows it up because it added it right here in my new lead, right? So all you got to do is, if you see this little pencil off to the right side, all you got to do is click in there and move it. And you can say, I want to move this card. This is the name of my board. This is my network marketing follow-up board, the board that I created. And I want to move it to this list. So I don't want, right now it's in miscellaneous. So all I say is I want to move it over to invitations. And it automatically defaults to the very last position here. So don't worry about that. Unless you want it to move it to a different position, and then you can just say move. And now it moved it over here. So there's different ways where you can move it. You can either slide it over, drag it over, or you can just click on the pencil and say, I want to copy it, I want to move it, right? And so that's the different ways that you can move a card. And see how this one already has the tasks here. It says 0 of 12 tasks have been completed. So once I invite them and I send the video, when I close it, I could see, okay, this person, I've already done two of my follow-up strategies with them, whereas these have 0. So that's a really neat way. Okay, so the beauty of what I did is, or what Trello does, right, is that you program it where it says here, follow up 1 day. You set it up, you set up automation rules so that when I put a card in here, it's automatically gonna assign a due date. I don't have to, I can do that manually. I can open this up and I can say, okay, I want to follow up with this person. Over here on the left, on the right side is the dates. So I could say, okay, I want to follow up with this person on the 11th or the 10th, or, you know, whatever day you want. You could do that manually. You can always overwrite it. But the best thing is to save time, right? So I could say, hey, you know what? I know I sent them the information today. I want to make sure I follow up with them tomorrow if I don't hear back from them before then. So all I got to do is I just slide it over to my 1 day follow-up and see how automatically November 9th popped up. Because I have a rule set up in here, and I'll show you the rules in a minute, where anytime I put a card in this list, in the follow-up 1 day list, it's going to give me a day of follow-up for the next working day. I set it up working days. but you could just set it up calendar days. So guess what tomorrow's gonna happen? Tomorrow, when it's the 9th, I set up another rule inside of Trello, and I'll show you all the rules in a minute. I showed up and I set it up so that tomorrow, when this card is due, it's going to move it to my due today. So pretty much what I'm working off is whatever is in my due today. So I know that these are the ones that I need to follow up with today. Okay, so let's say I move Leo over, and he told me I'm gonna be out of town. I'm gonna be out of town. So he says, I'm gonna be out of town for a few days, you know, let me know, follow up with me in 3 days. So I could just say, I wanna move him to, and it gives me suggestions up here. So just, I think sometimes, because it gives us so much information, it can be a little overwhelming. So up here is just suggestions based on what you're doing. It's a smart board, right? So it says, hey, you usually send people to the 1 day, the 5 day, or the 2 day. So it's already suggesting. But if one of these suggestions are not where you want to send him, then you just pick your list down here and say, no, I want to send him to, he's not interested. He's interested, but he's not replying. Or I want to follow up with him in 90 days. He says, you know, he's got something going on, but maybe in a couple of months. So I'll send him here. So right now we could say, I'm going to send him to my 5 day. And then I move him. And when I move him over here to my 5 day, it already gave it a date. He's going to be due on November 15th. So I don't really, these lists that I have here, the 1 day, the 2 day, the 5 day, all I use them is really just to throw in my card, my contact list, so that the system automatically sets up the follow date. Because really what I'm waiting for is when it's due, it's automatically going to come in here. I don't need to go look for them. Okay, I don't need to go look for them. They're gonna come the day that it's due. I set it up so where it automatically throws it into my due today list. Okay, but let's say Leo sends me a message before, right? He says, hey, Claudia, and I don't know, I don't remember where I put him. I don't remember where I put him. I'm like, I knew he told me to wait. And all of a sudden he says, hey, guess what? Something happened, you know, do you have something for this? So all I do is up here where it says search. If you can see here, we're up on the top right, it says search. So all I do is I type in Leo. And then it shows me anywhere where I have Leo. So see how he was on my other board too. So it says Leo is in my follow-up 5 days on this board, on the network marketing follow-up board. But all I do is I can click on Leo and it opens his card. It opens his card now and I can update it. I can update it and I can move him, or I can set a new date. I can add whatever it is that we talked about, you know, recommended something new, whatever it is that you did, you can add your note, save it and close it. But now you know where it was, you can move it from there. So it becomes a lot easier to manage, because one of the problems that I had was when I was doing it all on paper, right? It's like, where did I write it down? And then you have to transpose it and it has to move over. And so you kind of lose the trail, the history of what you've been talking to that person about if you have different lists on paper. So here, even though you do have them in a different list, it stays all in one card and it's easier to find. You don't have to go and shuffle through all these different books or these different papers that you have, because all you got to do is you got to search up here and the name will show up. So if I want to look for Rafaela, right, it's going to tell me where she's at and I can open her up. So that's what I really like, because each one of these lists are set up to where they're programmed to, this one's going to add 1 day, and you can change it. Like, this is my structure. I use 1 day, 2 day, you know, 5, 30 and 90 days. This is what I use, right? But if you don't use it like that, whatever days you usually have that you want to do follow-ups on, you get to set it up differently and set up the rule differently, right? The miscellaneous one that I have over here is really to have my contact template card. And then here I can also have tools. I didn't put the tools in here, but I put just names to give you an idea. So I can have here the business video, you know, the opportunity video that I have, or the product one that I have, because what you could do is you can attach it. You can attach your link here, either from your computer, right? From YouTube, if you have a video on YouTube, wherever it is that you have it, you can attach your file here. And that way, whenever you need to get it, you just, all you have to do is open up that card and you can get it. But the beauty of this too is that if you have your team also on Trello, you can share this card with them. You could share this card and you send it to them. Down here is where it says share. So you can share this card with them, and that way you can share that video. You can find it easier, and they'll also have a card with that video in it, or whatever resource you usually share. The product here, you can have the links to the Facebook groups. You know, almost all network marketing companies have Facebook groups where they do a lot of training, where they do even just product training, right? We have both. And so you could also attach the link. Let me show you how to do that real quick. Let me just move my Zoom. So I think you should still see my screen.
Yes,
right?
we can.
Yeah, okay, now I'm on Facebook now, so I'm gonna go to the For Life product training page, right? For those of you that are on the call that are not in For Life, just bear with us. I'm sure you guys have one too. So, okay, so here's this one. All I gotta do is I just gotta copy, highlight it and copy it, right? And then I go to my Trello board. So my Facebook group here, then I say attachment, and then I paste my link in here. And I could just call this link name product training and attach. So now when I look at this card, here's the product training. So let me close it so you can see it. And then when I open it, here is the product training link. So all I do is I click on it and it sends me straight over there. So you can easily find the group. You don't have to go and search for it again, or maybe you forgot what they called it, right? So you have the link, it automatically takes you. Let me close them both so you can see how it works. Okay, so you just open it and click on the link and it goes straight to there. So you can store all your, all your different resources that you are using. So let me show you how the automation works, okay? Because when you copy it, the rules came in, but I had to enable them on the board, okay? Because anytime you set up a rule for it, you can use the same rule for any of your boards, but you have to enable it. So that's where it gets a little trickier for some people, but it's worth it. It's worth the little extra steps, because automatically, it's just going to do all the work for you. So here where you see automation is where you click it. And then there's two things that I'm doing with this. One is the rules and the other one is email reports. I've only been using Trello for a week, so I haven't really messed around with the buttons. So I really can't talk about that right now. But what I'm using email reports is you can set up an email report. Let me open that up so I can show you, because that's not as complicated as the rules. So the email report, what I'm doing is it'll send me, see, when I clicked on, let me go back. I clicked on email reports and then it gives me this options. And what I did is I wanted to send me a list of overdue cards in case, because this was before I had set up the due today. So that way, if anything slipped through the cracks, I want to get an email. So I click on overdue cards. And then here it tells me, okay, what do you want me to do? So it's going to email me, and you pick the day, you pick the time, and it's going to email it to your email address. And it's going to tell you, hey, these are your overdue cards. And then it's going to show up whatever cards are overdue. So you can get an email straight to your, on a list that tells you, hey, you didn't do anything with these cards. These were due last week, or these were already due yesterday or whatever. So you could do that. You can pick any type of date that you want that's available here. So I'm going to close this because I already had set it up. So that's on automation, emails, and these are the options that you have. Or if you want to be proactive, you can say the ones that are due soon, right? So there's different options here. So that's one of the automation things that you can do, but the one that the rules is what makes it everything easier. So I'm going to click on rules. And these are the rules that I have set up. And Trello makes it very easy. It looks complicated here, especially if you're not used to maybe it looks like programming, right? And it is programming, but it's not that complicated. So I'm going to show you really quick how you can create a rule. If you look off to the left side, there's these different types of options. We have automation tips, rules, due date, and calendar, right? So I'm really just going to talk about rules and due date because I haven't really messed around with some of the other functionalities. Okay, so rules. How do I create a rule? This right here is one rule. If you see this box in the middle where it says rules, where you see this box around it, I have a rule that says when a card is added to the list, follow up for 1 day, then it sets a due date in 1 working day at 8 a.m. So that's a rule. So that's why anytime I slide any card over to that follow up in 1 day, it's going to automatically give it a date of the next day. Okay, so does that rule make sense to you guys? Because really all you do is I'm repeating the same rule for the other list. So now my next rule is when a card is added to follow up 2 days, it's going to set it in 2 working days. And then I went down the list. 5 days, it's going to set it for 5, 30 is going to set it for 30, you know, and like that. So,
yeah, sorry, I enter late, so I have a lot of first question. So first you create like the folder, like the follow-up 90 days, and then you come to the rules and then you create the rule for that folder, right?
Yeah, first you have to make your lists. And you got to name the list. That's why I named the list something that would remind me what it's going to do. You can name it whatever you want it to do, right? But for me, I want it to be reminded that if I put someone in the 90 days, it's going to set a date for 90 days, right? So but you can name it whatever you want, but you do have to make the list first, and then you can go set the rule. And be very careful because when I was first messing with it, I would change the list, the name. I set the rule, and then I went and I changed the name of the list. So then the rule didn't work anymore because the name was different and it couldn't find it.
Of course. Yeah. Okay. Awesome. Thank you.
You're welcome. And so then the next one that I have is when I add a card to interested, not replying, set a due date in 4 working days. This is the only one that doesn't match what the name is. And that's because I follow Ray Higdon's strategy where he says the 4-day rule, you know, the 4-day rule. Hey, I'm sorry, I've been busy, but you know, just to kind of get them to respond again. So that's the one that I set up here in 4 days for people that said, yeah, I'm open, and I sent them the information and now they're not responding to me. I set it up to remind me in 4 days. Okay. Let's see. Okay, so see how here where all the rules are, there's the check marks. It means that it's enabled. This rule works on this board that I'm showing you right now. It's the network marketing follow-up board. It's enabled there. But if I scroll down, see how here I have this rule, but it's not checked. That's because this is a rule for another board that I have. So I have a rule that says when I add someone to budding builders, and that's what I called, and I'll show you that board right now. When I add someone there, add the onboarding checklist. So anytime I add a board from, let's say somebody enrolled and I have them on this board on my network marketing follow-up board, but now they enroll. So now I'm going to move them to my team board. So when I move them there and they told me they want to build, I'm going to add them to the budding builder list. And Trello is automatically going to attach a checklist that I have set up for onboarding, because that was another area that I was struggling with. And you know, when I did this and I was going back and updating it for everyone that I have on my team, I realized I hadn't been onboarding them very, very well. I mean, yeah, so the results are obvious, right? So that's why I'm excited about this, because I think it's going to really help me do a better service to those people that are coming on and are joining. because a lot of them don't do it because they just haven't been onboarded correctly. So at least that's in my case. So, but if you see here, it's not checked because this rule does not apply for this board. So you'll see all the rules here that you set up for your workspace, but it doesn't mean that they're all working on all the boards. So if you set one up and you're like, why isn't it working? Just come in here and check your rules. And if it's not checked off, then it's not working on this board. Okay.
Real quick, Claudia. So you're saying that there's a different board for the people that you bring on as a team member, right?
Yes, I'll show you that one right now.
Perfect. Thank you.
So this is the rules that I have set up for the follow-up. And then the other one that I wanted to talk to you about is the due date. This is the one that helps it work, where I told you that when it's due, it's going to move it to that column of due today. It's all thanks to this rule right here, the due date rule. So it's enabled. So it says the moment a card is due, move the card to the bottom of the list of due today. Now, to be honest with you, it didn't move it to the bottom, it moved it to the top. That's why when we first opened it up, you saw that my visual was on the bottom. It should have moved it to the bottom of that and not to the top. But as long as it moves it to that list, I'm happy with it. I can move my visual, right? But this, I think, was my favorite feature, because I don't have to go work with all the lists. All the lists are just there to assign a date on it. But what I really need to focus on when I open up my board each day is whatever is in that column. Focus on that first. And it's all due to this due date rule that I have here. Okay. So any more questions on the rules or the due date before I close this one?
Do you write the rules? Like, is there a specific rule how to write the rules? Like in when you program?
That's a great question. Let me show you how you would write a rule. Okay, so there's different ways to get to it. So you could say automation and then rules, right? And then from here, it opens up your rules. But what you could do is you just go up here and say, create a rule.
Okay.
So create a rule. And then this is another scary part, because there's nothing on here and you're like, what, right? So what you do is you just say, add a trigger. So you click add a trigger, and then you have all the options. So at first it says, these are the options for cards, right? So you can pick any of these things. See where there's a plus over here on the right side? So these are the options that you have. This one, it says when a card is added to the board by me, added means created, copied, or moved. So even if you copied it over, you moved it into that board, so it would do that, right? So I'm gonna add this. When a card is added to the board by me, because you know how I didn't add the checklist?
Yeah.
When a card is added to the board by me, so I'm gonna say yes. I'm gonna add that. So now if I scroll up, I see the trigger. The trigger is when a card is added to the board by me. Now I gotta assign it an action. So anytime you set up a rule, you gotta do two things. One is the trigger, what's gonna trigger that action, and then what action do you want? So my action is going to be that I wanted to add a checklist. Okay, so add a checklist. So I'm gonna say add the checklist, and then you gotta put the name of the checklist, which is follow-up, is what I called it. So add the follow-up checklist to the card. And then now I say plus. So I added, so now I scroll up and now it says my trigger is when a card is added to the board by me, add the follow-up checklist to the card. And I'm like, okay, that's what I want. So once you have it the way you want it, then you say save. And when you save it, it celebrates. See how it sends you like the confetti? It celebrates. So that's the rule. So now let's go test it. So I'm gonna close the rules. And now it should happen no matter where I add the card. It's supposed to add that follow-up. Okay, so now I'm gonna say Abby. And there it goes. See how it took it like a second? And now it added it right here. I can tell because now it's a 0 out of 12. So when I open Abby's card, I have my follow-up checklist on here. Okay.
One question, can you do different follow-up checklist?
Yes, you just need to
I'm
name
thinking
something.
about, sorry, let me try to give you the thought that I'm having. I'm thinking that, okay, this is, all you showed us is before I get the person into my company. But I can use this after I get them into the company, like for like the first product training, like the business training, like when they get the product, like give them a call, show them how to use it, like follow up 3 days after using the product. Has it been working for you? And then Savino, he might share that with you guys, but Savino showed us different type of like contacts. How do you call it? Hold on, let me ask him. Hold on.
Yeah, I think, let me show you the next thing, because I think it's gonna answer your question. So here, if you saw when I added Avi's card, right, it automatically added the checklist. So, because the whole goal is to
Yeah.
take them from this board to enroll them, right? And once you enroll them, I said, the way I set it up, and you could do it differently, right? But the way I set it up is I made another board for my network marketing team. So here's my
Oh, okay. So you just take them to a whole different board.
Yes.
It's not in the, okay. I arrived late. Sorry, I didn't see this in the beginning.
Yeah,
Sorry,
I
Claudia.
hadn't shown
Thank you.
this one yet. So this is the network marketing board, right? And so on this board, again, I have a due today, because I don't want to be fishing on all my, and there's nobody here right now, right, on this sample one. So, but I set up the same rule. Trello is gonna automatically tell me what I need to work on today. So let's say these are my customers. These are the people that told me they want to build, but they haven't started building yet. So, you know, that's why I made this list. And then these are the teams that I might have: team 1, team 2, team 3, team 4, right? And then again, I have a contact, a miscellaneous one. And here's where I have the product training, the Facebook groups, you know, you can have all those things in there. But see, what you were saying, Abby, the beauty is that, let's say I'm going to go back to the network marketing follow-up, right? And then Abby, she knows what's good, right? She knows what's good. I invited her, I sent her the video, and she's ready to enroll. She's enrolling, right? So I just do that. So now I'm gonna move her. So now I update and I'm gonna move her. All I gotta do is say, go to my pencil and say, I wanna move this card over now. This is what it's suggesting, and I'm not gonna follow her up anymore, not on this board. I'm gonna follow her up on my team board. So now I'm gonna move her to the board, network marketing team is what I called it, right? So now I'm gonna,
that's okay.
I'm gonna move it there, and I'm not gonna put her on due today. I'm gonna put her because she's my customer. She signed up, she wants to be a preferred customer. So I'm just gonna write them.
Okay.
Or she told me, no, she wants to build. Okay, she wants to build, I'm gonna put her there. So I'm gonna move her there.
Mm-hmm.
And now I'm gonna go to that board, to my network marketing team board. And now you see Abby here, and it always adds it to the top. That's why I say, if you want to remove these, you can. This is just a placeholder. You don't have to have this part here.
Do you think it has a pin? You could pin it? You know how Excel has a pin?
I haven't figured out how to
where you
pin
can
it.
freeze it?
If anybody knows how to pin it, let me know, because I want to keep these cards, because I'm a visual person. And so let me show you what it looks like when you take it off. I'm going to take it off.
I think it would be in there.
So when you don't have it, this is what it would look like, which is still fine, right? Which is still fine. So now she's in my buddy builder, right? And now she's here, but look what happened. Now she says 3 of 35. Instead of where it was saying 1 of 12, I think. Now it's 3 of 35. If I open her card, it added my preferred customer checklist. It added my onboarding checklist. It added both of them. And I'm going to go ahead and delete the follow-up one, because I don't need to have it anymore, right?
Okay.
You've done that with me.
Yeah, yeah. So I already went through that. And then you told me you want to build. So you're not
Yeah.
gonna be a preferred, if you just told me, I just wanna buy the product, then I would only keep my preferred customer checklist on here. Because I don't need to overwhelm you with all these other things, right? So if you just want to buy, then you're my preferred customer. And these are the things that I want to show you. I want to show you about the app, the connect, in case you want to share, you know, your loyalty order, different things. Everybody has a different set. But she says she wants to build. So I'm going to delete this checklist from her card. And I'm just going to leave the onboarding one because this is everything I need to train her on. So that she can, according to me, right? Everybody's going to have a different checklist, but
of course,
this is what my great mentors that are on this call showed me, right? And so this is the list. So see, does that answer your question, Abby?
Yes, I have two more questions. Sorry. Okay, the first one, since I'm gonna have different boards, is there any way to get the due today in only one place and I don't have to go through all my boards? That's the first question. Do you know that? Or if I have to go into my different boards?
Well, it's because if you have,
let's say I have
you're gonna
my
keep the card on both boards.
No, like you have your network marketing follow-up, and then you have your team, and then you have your customers. So do you have to go to each board to know what you have to do today? Or is there any way that Trello?
No, like let's say with Abby, she says, you know what, tomorrow we can get together for an hour so I can show you, I'm going to show you the first part, right? So I set my date, and then I said, that I'm going to follow up with you tomorrow. You can even set the time, right? And then save it. And then what'll happen is when it's due tomorrow, it's gonna move you the way that I programmed the board. It's gonna move you to my due today. So I'll know what I need to do today. But the other thing that Trello offers is you can do a calendar power up. So all you gotta do is you're gonna go to your menu, and then well, let me show you the calendar, and then I'll show you how to add it. So the calendar gives you a different view of this board. So on this calendar, it's going to show you your days of the week and who you need to work with. So on this day, I have Abby scheduled.
Okay, so in the calendar, can I see the task from the different boards, or only the task from the board that you're right now?
Yeah, that's the problem, is that you only see that on the calendar, you only see the task from this board, right? So
okay,
my task for this board, this is who on my team, who I'm scheduled with. That's why I still have my planner. I still have my paper planner.
okay,
where that one has everybody in there, right? But here, when I look at this calendar, this is who I'm working with my team, right? And then if I go to my follow-up, I also have the power up there. So here it'll show me who I need to follow up with. And you can
so that was the question. There's no way that Trello that it can join them all together and give me all the tasks for today from the different boards, right?
I haven't figured it out, no. But like I said, I've only been using it a week, so I haven't figured that part out. But to me, at first I was like, I really wanted them all together. But to me, I'm like, okay, well, at least I know when I sit down and I do follow up, at least I know this is my follow up time, and these are the people I need to follow up with. Right?
Yeah,
and
that's
the other one. So yeah, because I haven't. You can probably put them all on another board, and do it that way. There's probably a way.
Yeah, we'll figure that out later. Okay, and another question, like you created the let's see, if you go to my card, go to Abby's card, and then you have all these tasks like onboarding, for Life app, for Life Connect, for Life University. Is there any way that, since you already created that, like you can share it with some people so they don't have to create it all over?
Yes, you can copy my board. Like you could do a board that you want for your team to follow, right? And that's what I'm gonna post on here right now. So you're gonna go to show menu.
Okay.
You go to show menu, and then it gives you different options here, right? This one doesn't look like it has a lot of options, but what you do is you can click the arrow here, and when you click the arrow, it gives you more options. So here I can change my background, you know, different things. Here's the automation. This is the one thing you need to go to. You go to automation. And here is where it tells you what automations you can add. So I already added my calendar. I already added the due date, right? But when you first start Trello, you don't have these automatically added. So you have to go and activate them. You have to say automation, and then you look for that for the calendar, and then you add the calendar. Most of them are going to be with Butler. Or you can also do power-ups, which let me go to power-ups. Power-ups.
Because let me tell you what I'm thinking. Let me tell you what I'm thinking, and then let's see if I explain myself. I'm thinking, okay, I would take like Laura Flores, Sabino, Leo, Renaldo, Limari, you, like all the people that we're doing the trainings and all this stuff, and then I would create like the tasks, and then that way anyone who wants to start using Trello, they don't have like to create them all over again. They just can go into your board or mine, and then just copy paste and then modify anything. It might help them more than that we did not create it.
Yeah, there's several things you could do. Trello was really made for not just, we're solopreneurs, right? We're both mostly solopreneurs, but it was really also made for big teams. So you all share the same board. Like, let's say somebody does the inviting, somebody does the follow-up, you know, you would all share the same board and you know who you're working with, right? I mean, that's not really how it works for us, but like if you were like that, you could share your workspace, and you can, let's say what you guys are doing, all the goals that are working together, you guys have a project that you're working on, you could all create one board and share that board, and everybody can come in and see the same board and see what's going on, and maybe even assign it to certain people. You could do that, and all you have to do is you just share, like here, this one is public. See, this one's public, but see my other boards, like this is where I really have my stuff, right? So here, this one's private, so nobody could see it. You know, nobody could see it. And so here's my other one that I have. This one's also private. This is where I have my affirmations, you know, this is the one that I use to start my day with, right? So you can have different boards, and some you can share and some you don't share. But I think what you're really trying to do is maybe just give them a copy of your board the way you set it up. And that's what I'm going to let you do right now. So see, you go to show
Exactly.
menu, go to show menu, and then you go to the back, and then now here at the very bottom, I'm sorry, more. And then here you could say copy board, and you can make a copy, or you could just click the link. See how it's copying it? So I'm gonna copy it, and then I'm gonna paste it in the chat for you guys. So if you guys click,
are the best.
Okay.
So if you guys click on that link, you'll be able to, when you open it, you're gonna open what I see, right? But you'll be able to copy the board. Just by picking copy board, you'll be able to copy the board and already have it almost all set up. And you can get rid of whatever you don't want to. You can rename things, but just remember on the automation, when you go to the automation, if you change the name of the list, you have to go change the name of the list on the rule. Okay.
Of course.
And if you don't want it in 5 days, if you want 7 days, then just adjust the days right there in the rules. That's why I wanted to share the rules with you. So all you gotta do is you just gotta copy it. Let me copy the other one. So I'm gonna go to network marketing team and copy that board. So there's the 2 boards. So that's how you can share with the people you're training. You can say, okay, look, this is the board, you know, this is what's, but like we said earlier in the energy hour, you know, everyone has a different way of working. So this might not work for everyone, right? But it would help to train them, because you already have the there, you have all the checklists. They're gonna see whatever you put on the miscellaneous card. Because the other thing too is you could say they can copy everything except the cards. So you can share another board that you have where they don't actually get to see the people that you have your cards on, your prospects, in other words.
Yeah, your cards, you can have them as private for them not to see their information or something like that. Well, the way I see it is everyone works differently, but that way we could give them a guide. It's like you don't have to create everything all over again. It's just you can go and copy it and then you modify it as long as whatever you need it. Yeah, that's awesome, Claudia. This is so cool. Thank you.
You're welcome. So do you guys have any other questions before I stop sharing?
Claudia, I just have to say thank you so very much. This was super helpful. I've tried to use Trello before and just was so lost. And I have watched other people give tutorials, but they were like a lot more high level. So I was still like, I don't know if I can do what they're doing, but this is perfect because you're new to it as well, but you're definitely more concise and focused as to what your cards are and all that kind of stuff. So this has been very, very helpful. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. I'm glad it was helpful.
Hey, Claudia, I only had one question for you. But I think you already answered it because you said basically the card will move from being on the prospect kind of list to the team member list. There's no need to change it. I think you already answered the question.
Yeah,
That's what I was wondering.
you can either move it or you can copy it and keep it on both boards. So for me, I mean, once I enroll them, I don't want to keep them on my follow-up board, right? I want to move them over to my team board, but I also have a coaching business, right? So like one of my boards is for my online courses. I just launched coaching online. And so in some cases for me, you know, and it just depends, everybody has different projects going on. You might have, you know, the need for another board, and that way you would copy them. You would copy them and have them on 2 different boards. If that's what you need, because you might need to follow up with them in one board and not the other. So it's up to you. Copy it or you can move it. One more thing I want to show you guys is this. When you open a card, actually 2 more things I want to share with you guys. When you open a card, each board, you can have different labels on. Okay, so here, once she's in my board for network marketers, this is the label. She inherited it from my other board. So I'm going to say, okay, actually Abby is in my first 3 levels, or she's my 5. You know how they always tell you who's your top 5. So maybe she's going to be one of my top 5. So you can label it however it is that you want. And you create these labels. This is really busy. Let me go to the other board. I think that other board won't have so many. Well, let me show you on this one, because this one didn't inherit the labels. So no, it didn't. So this is my follow-up board. So with him, I'm going to decide, okay, I invited Robert for the business. So I just do a checkbox here, and then it adds the label to him. But I also shared with him about the coaching, just for example, right? Or maybe he says, I'm not interested in the business, but I'm interested in the product. So when I do that, when I look at his card, it has these labels on here. And if I click on it, it actually shows me what the label is. So that way, when I look at my board, I can see, you know, who's interested in what, if they're interested in just health, or if they're interested in the business, or in both health and wellness, right? Health and wealth, they're interested in both. So ideally, I want to see all my cards with this color, right? Or when it's a hot lead, when it's someone that, hey, this is a good prospect, they're really, so I want to put them in red maybe, because that way when I see it on my board, it just calls out to me more. So, but you can decide whatever labels you want. So I'm going to go back in here, open this card, and then by unchecking them, it removes it. And when the way that you adjust your labels is you say, create a new label, and then you just name it. This is a test label. And then you pick the color that you want it to be. So once you pick your color, you create it, and now it's right here. And each board has different labels. So that way, when you close it, you can see, did it pick it up? Yeah, it should show it up. Robert's card doesn't want to cooperate, but the label usually works. It'll show up the label that you pick for it. So that's the way labels work. And then the other thing is, if you want to create a new checklist, you just click on checklist and you name it whatever it is that you want to be. This is a test checklist. And if you want to copy items from another list that you already have, like for example, and then here, see here it tells you like follow up in Angel, or I want to do, see how I put Herminio and Juan, they're all on my team now. So you can copy one of their lists from right here. But sometimes you have more than one. You can have, well, there's my other board has an onboarding one. So if you say, no, none of those are good, you could just say add, and you start your own list. It's as simple as this. It's like item 1 that I want to train them on, and then 2, and then 3, and then 4, and you can add as many as you want. You can even assign a due date, and then that's it. And they show up right here. So now when I go to another card, right, I can say checklist, and then it said I can say copy items from, where's my test? Here it is. So copy items from my follow-up checklist or from my test checklist. I don't even have to remember it. I just have to go search for it on someone that I already added it to. So I could say, well, I'm going to copy the follow-up one. So then I just do that and it automatically adds it to the card in case you created a new one. So now I don't have them. But that's how easy you can create a checklist. And to me, I mean, that I think is really valuable because that's where I was really struggling with keeping track of what I've shown to whom.
Hey, Claudia, can you see all your boards at once so you know everything that's going on in one day from all your boards, like today? Will it show up on today? You know what I mean? Can you see that?
I haven't done that. Because I really did try to figure out, because I actually had another board where I wanted to put everything in there because I wanted to have one calendar where I could see everything. And I couldn't get it to work, but you know, I'm fairly new, so I don't know if there is a way to do that. I haven't been able to do that. I know that when you first log in, when you first open up the application, you see all your boards in a different view.
Okay. Does it tell you if you have a conflict with time appointments?
I don't think about a conflict. I think they'll all just show up at the same time. So there's this other view, and these are all the boards that I have, right? So you just open up the board that you want. But I don't know if it'll give you a conflict. It hasn't given me a conflict because I have assigned the same due date. Because usually what I do is I set it up so that it gives me a due date at 8 a.m.
Okay.
The rule is when I put it in when I have my follow-up, when I drop a card into my follow-up in one day, I want it to be due at 8 a.m. the next working day. So they're all due. They're all due at 8 a.m.
You're using it as a task thing, not as a meeting thing.
Yeah,
right.
No, not really for my calendar management. That's why I'm still doing my phone. You know, I put in so it'll remind me if I have a meeting or things like that. My planner is still, I haven't been able to get rid of that. But I think at least as far as following up with your prospects and following up with your team, it's really helpful.
Right. This was incredibly valuable. Thank you.
You're welcome. So,
okay, I have one last question, Claudia. You just can use it like in a computer or in the web page. There's no app you can download.
Yeah, that's the beauty of it is I have it on my computer and I have it on my phone. So on my phone, when I open it, I even get the notifications of what is due if I set it up. So when I open Trello on my phone, when I open Trello, I see my boards and I can open up that board. And so let's say I'm somewhere, right? I'm in the street and I just met someone. I can add them right away to my lead. And I can add their phone number and everything on there. And guess what? The beauty of it too is when you save it on the card. Let me share my screen again.
Yeah, I'm thinking about the example that you gave. Like, let's see, I'm shopping day. That's a shopping day, or I'm on vacation day. And Leo calls me and he says, oh, I came up early from my trip and this came up. So, and I don't have my iPad or my computer or anything. I just open my cell phone and I'll have the app and it's everything updated there, right?
And then you just look for his card.
Yeah.
You look
And
for
then I'll just have all his information.
Yeah, and
Oh,
like, for example, what I could do here is I can attach, or not even attach, even on, I think on the description is where I did it. I don't remember who I did it with. I think I did it, let me see, I think I did it with David. No, I didn't do it with David. There's someone that I tested it with and I haven't gone back and done it, but what you could do, because WhatsApp, you can also have a link with WhatsApp, right? So what I could do is on his card, I can add his WhatsApp link right here. I'm writing this right. Or his messenger link, and when I open it on my phone, all I gotta do is click on the link and it opens up his WhatsApp. It connects me straight to his WhatsApp.
Oh, that's awesome. Okay.
Yeah, it'll do that. The same thing too, if you attach their Facebook, you attach their Facebook here, it'll open it straight to. So like one thing that they were showing that in one of the videos that I saw, that I'm not doing it yet because well, I haven't done it yet. What I did do today when I was co-prospecting on Energy Hour, everybody that I sent an invitation to, if they were a co-prospect, I did add a card to. I did add a card, and then the people that responded that said, yeah, I want to take a look. What I did with those cards is I added their Facebook profile page link to their card.
Yeah, that's faster for you to know who you were talking about.
So let me give you an example. There's one that today that I can't remember the name. So I added her card and see here, she did in everything that I offered her, right? And so when I click on her, then I'll find her right away. Because she's on my, and I can find her from my phone too if I'm out and about and I'm on my phone, and I can find her there as well. That's what I like, because you could use Trello on your phone and on your computer.
Yeah, I'm gonna give you a call later and I'm gonna show you my dinosaur way of doing this, like when we were in California. Yeah, but I was telling Sabina, like, oh my God, this is what I used to do with the bio cards, but it was so hard to keep it up. It was so hard. So this is awesome. And I had heard of it, but I haven't even downloaded the app or anything. And your training was like very easy to understand. As I get it, just go and start doing it, and I'll find out everything else. And if not, I'll just give you a call.
Sounds good. Yes. Anybody else have a question? Laura, would you like to add anything? Because I know you've been using Trello. Is there something that maybe you wanted to share that I don't know about yet?
Claudia, no sabes cuánto aprendí ahorita. Yo era como que Trello es vida y es genial, y me encanta esa parte donde lo que hacemos en la computadora está en el celular inmediatamente, no tienes que save nada de que hice esto y lo tengo que guardar, no lo guardé, toda acción. I'm sorry que estoy hablando español.
Está las que quedamos ya hablamos en español, so you can...
¿Sonia habla español? ¿Sonia habla español?
Sí.
Ah, perfecto. Oye,
Mary no hablaba, pero ella ya se acaba de salir.
Oye, Claudia, el Power Apps, sé que de quien lo vengo a aprender, de quien siempre estoy aprendiendo eso de Trello, bueno, que ella lo usa, Kimberly Olson, siempre se menciona power-ups. No ha llegado al punto de mostrar qué son los power-ups, pero siempre he tenido curiosidad. No sé si ya llegaste a esa parte de usarlos y qué son, para qué aplican.
Sí, el power up actually is el calendar, mira, is the very first one that you need to apply, because when you first start, cuando apenas abres un Trello, déjame compartir mi pantalla, cuando apenas abres un Trello, no tiene esto que dice aquí calendario. Ok, no va a salir eso. Cuando tú abres tu Trello, tienes que activarlo, o te vas a ir a Show Menu, y luego te vas a la flechita.
Sí, ahí están los power-ups.
A los power-ups, te vas a ir a los power-ups. Y luego aquí es donde vas a buscar calendar. Aquí te van a salir diferentes opciones. ¿Verdad? Te van a salir diferentes opciones. Yo les recomiendo que usen el que dice Made by Trello. Made by Trello and then calendar. Porque eso
So not
Trello
not
are
the
usually
Gmail?
the free ones, and they work better with Trello. So for the calendar, really, it's this first one. And you can see how many times they've downloaded it. See, it's the most popular one.
The first one, I don't see.
So all you gotta do is say, I want this one. Ya no me da la opción to add it because I already have it. ¿Sí?
Calendar.
If I didn't have it, me diría add,
Okay.
como este de aquí.
El mío dice important document merger approvals for Trello,
Oh, wow.
Dashio, file manager, Hipporella.
Necesitas
Canon.
buscar calendar, Sonia,
Sí, busca Made by Trello and then type in calendar.
para que te dé los calendarios.
Porque
Entonces,
cuando más
es algo que bajas para que se asocien, o sea, lo bajas diferente o es como una metodología de seguir dentro de Trello.
es que es lo que permite que hagas cosas.
Oh, I got it. Okay.
Okay.
Antes de noviembre, this is the best time, porque antes de noviembre, nomás te daban un power up y todos los demás tenías que pagar más. Ahora, desde el 1 de noviembre, te dan unlimited power ups.
Sí, yo por eso no lo había usado nunca. No te creas, Claudia.
Pues ahora es más fácil, ¿verdad? Porque antes sí tenías que pagar $5 o $10, depende del plan, que no es mucho de todos modos, ¿verdad? Pero ahora que ya te dan unlimited power-ups, pues es más fácil que se anime el equipo a que lo hagan en Trello, ¿verdad? Porque no es gratis. Y tienen power-ups.
A ver, yo tengo varias preguntas. Laura, ¿tú ya descubriste? Claro que yo todas las preguntas lo estoy haciendo de lo que estoy viendo. Yo nunca en mi vida había visto Trello, o sea, sí lo había escuchado, pero ni siquiera me había puesto a investigar. ¿Tú ya descubriste cómo te salgan todas las tareas de tus diferentes boards o no?
No, Abby, fíjate que todo lo que ahorita enseñó Claudia de tanta cosa que ya he hecho, yo estoy usando Trello a lo básico. Hoy con Claudia muchísimas cosas, porque yo soy de el tablero, las listas y las tarjetas.
Ajá, sí.
Por ejemplo, el follow-up, el checklist.
Sí.
Yo hacía el checklist y a lo mejor a esta tarjeta ponerle, ¿verdad? Cuando lo haces una sola vez y lo copias, ¿no? O Claudia se va, ya lo tienes no, fue demasiado para mí hoy lo que Claudia enseñó.
Ok, ya.
Yo hago cosas muy básicas.
Ok, Sonia es downline tuya, ¿verdad, Laura?
No, de Leos.
Ah, bueno, pero está en For Life. Ok, entonces, lo que yo le decía a Claudia, a ver si me explico, Laura, porque se me hace bien interesante, precisamente por eso que acabas de decir. O sea, conste que yo nunca he entrado, ¿eh? O sea, todos mis comentarios son desde que nunca he entrado. O sea, que si trabajáramos en crear boards, o sea, imagínate que nos juntáramos Claudia, tú, Leo, Sabino, yo, por ejemplo, otros que están trabajando muy fuertes, Orlando, Célica, o sea, los que estamos así como que Laura Aguilar, y crear boards que sean masters y checklists que sean masters. Entonces, metemos a todo mundo a Trello y decimos, no te preocupes, no tienes que crear tus boards, no tienes que crear tus checklists, te vas a este máster, cópialo todo y ya tú modifícalo a como a ti te dé la gana. Pero les damos como el machote, como así como,
ok.
¿sí me explico? ¿Sí me explico?
Pues básicamente es lo que acabo de hacer, Abby.
Como lo que hizo Claudia
Ujú.
ahorita. Aquí está el enlace y ahí está el
Sí,
link.
pero
Porque
Claudia
yo
lo tiene en inglés. Entonces, Claudia lo tiene en inglés y por lo que veo, la aplicación es en inglés, pero todo lo demás, como yo lo creo, yo lo puedo poner en español.
No, y
Sí.
fíjate, Abby, que no precisamente. Hace mucho tiempo cuando yo descargué Trello, que ya después no supe cómo hacerlo, también está en español todo.
¿En serio?
Sí. Yo
Ok.
recuerdo haberlo bajado en español,
Ok.
pero no supe cómo le hice. Y
Ok.
después solo lo he encontrado en inglés, pero sí está en español.
Pues a mí me aparece en español en la aplicación de
Está
la...
debajo de tu nombre.
Y
Entonces,
Abby,
cuando
Abby,
vas al desktop, se ve a la derecha, under your initials.
para hacerlo translate, a ver.
¿Hacerlo en
Yeah.
español?
Dice SH para Sonia Hecky, right? O va a ser
Ok.
Laura. Entonces,
El
ves
F.
donde dice language, account details, change language.
¿En dónde, Sonia? Como aquí en mi pantalla.
Ok, a la derecha, donde está tu carita.
Ajá.
Oprime allí.
No,
Okay,
¿dónde
so-
está la campanita?
So when you go down, go to,
Settings.
Oh,
did you find it?
Do I go to settings?
No, I went to my name. Hold on. Profile and visibility. Maybe that's where I went. Yeah. And then go to settings. Settings. That's where it's at.
Ajá,
ok.
settings. Ajá.
Y ahí está language. Change language.
Change language.
Órale.
Ah,
¡Esta Sonia! ¡Ujú! Y ahí le puedes poner español. Ahí
Ujú.
Claudia lo tiene en inglés, pero lo podemos poner en español para los mexas. Bueno, los de Latinoamérica.
a mí
Bueno,
me llamó algo que
cada
dice
quien baja.
Atlasia.
Y de hecho, Abby, sí quiero hacer uno en español, ¿verdad? Porque mi plan era compartir mi pizarrón y darles el
Claro.
a los que estén desarrollando para ayudarles con su seguimiento y todo eso. ¿ah? Y sí quiero hacer uno en
Ajá.
español, nomás que se presentó que en Rainmakers pues es en grupo inglés y lo hicimos en inglés, pero con
Claro.
gusto colaboramos. Baja si quieres, Happy, mi pizarrón que les acabo de compartir en el chat y luego
Hey,
voy
Claudia,
a sugerir. Ajá.
I'm sorry. Pude copiar una de los links que diste, pero el otro no sé por qué no me está dejando. No me acuerdo lo que hice. Y estoy en el teléfono, ¿verdad? Con Zoom. Y de allí fui al app. Y por alguna razón, from the app, no me está dejando copiar la segunda. Solo puedo ver una.
Ah, y a mí nada más me deja copiar la primera, la segunda, la primera.
¿Verdad
Pero
que sí?
Eso es lo de menos, eso se las puedo pedir después a Claudia. Pero sí, ya pude las dos, Claudia, ya pude las dos. Pero sí me gustaría, Claudia, a ver si nos echamos un cafecito virtual y aventarnos la de español. O sea, ahorita que yo lo vi, o sea, se me hace que pudiera ser una herramienta padrísima. Sirve que te enseño mi método dinosaurio de cómo yo le hacía en California. Porque en Cali, no, es más, bueno, sigan platicando y déjenme subo, voy a traer, porque yo no he tirado uno de esos archiveros, nada más porque digo, algún día a alguien se lo voy a mostrar, déjenme los traigo, ustedes sigan platicando, me tardo.
Ok, mientras le pregunto a Sonia algo. Sonia, cuando
Yeah.
hice language, me mandó algo que se llama Atlassian, ¿eso es normal?
Yeah, I think that's the operating system. Es el sistema que está
ok.
operando
Y tengo
esto.
que poner el email y todo para que me lo den en español.
Yo creo. Déjame ver.
Ellos
Ahorita voy
son
para allá.
los dueños de Trello.
Ok.
Es la compañía de Trello. So cuando tienes una cuenta
Okay.
con Trello, cuenta con Atlassian.
Ok, gracias.
Sí.
Para que
So-
me cambie el idioma, tengo que entrar nuevamente.
Ok,
Ujú.
¿se quieren repetir un ratito? Esto es nomás como chisme, ¿eh? O sea, esto no les va a aportar nada a su vida.
Mira.
Mira,
Voy a parar la grabación.
Sí, Claudia.